Many times in my classroom, I notice that whenever I ask a question, any question, even if it's easy, like what's your favorite color, the response you tend to get is this. And I was always wondering, part of it's because, some people think that it's about Thai culture. And some people think that, oh, it's because they're all shy and they don't want to say anything. That's the Thai way. I actually don't believe that's entirely true. Those of you who watch my channel more often, you guys know that recently I took the driver's test for a motorbike in Thailand. In that video, I go through the process of how you need to get your license and how you take these classes and what goes on for that. In that same class, I learned something a little bit interesting. So naturally, as you go through the whole classroom, you end up watching all these videos that tell you exactly how to drive, what the rules of the road are, and for the most part, it's common sense questions. I ended up learning the whole thing in Thai. So naturally, as we went through the classroom, it was actually okay for me to keep up. The only problem was that my confidence dropped significantly. So let's start with the first example of this classroom. When the teacher stopped the video and started asking us all questions, in Thai she said, "Ela kunขับรถแล้วก็คุณเห็นไฟสีเขียวหมายถึงอะไร?" So I should have said something like, "Oh teacher, สีเขียวหมายถึงว่าสามารถขับรถได้." But instead what ended up happening was I suddenly had this fear that if I mispronounced something, I would look stupid, or the teacher would look at me with a glare. You know what that glare is, especially if you have that really mean teacher or that teacher who's just so old school that she doesn't care. It's the glare of disapproval. The point is that thought process went through, and it wasn't just that question. There was multiple questions that came up. The next thing to think about is when she started passing out the practice quiz. Now, another thing that didn't help my confidence out is that she actually did not give me it because she was afraid that because I was an English learner, I would not be able to answer the questions. She didn't even give me a try, so therefore I just tried to do it on a separate sheet of paper. So she put the questions up on the screen, and our job was to circle the correct answer or write down the correct answer. So I tried to do it on a separate sheet of paper, even though I didn't get the quiz. What I found that is I got a few of the answers right, and then the next slide, she moved quickly past it because everybody else seemed to be finished, but I wasn't. That was an interesting thing I noticed, is that I could not keep up with it. I just gave up right after a certain amount of questions. But what I ultimately figured out is that I failed the test because I was too afraid, or I gave up because it was just too hard for me to keep up with the rest of the class. So these are things to keep in mind. I don't believe being shy is 100% a Thai thing. Understand that if they are not confident in a language and they're struggling with that and they don't want to be embarrassed by it, it's something we all go through. It's not just Thais. Anyway guys, that's just my insight of my last video. If you want any more videos like this one, please message me in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much everybody. Sawasdee krap.